Hello everyone. I hope you had a good Halloween. I'm going to do as brief as possible a review of Module 5, and as usual I'm going to use our Titanium site to do so. So I'm scrolling down through our Titanium site to Module 5. In this module, we work on the core proposition that teachers are responsible for managing and monitoring student learning. Now, this is obviously a broad topic, but we're going to focus on classroom discourse, take a quick look at student-centered teaching or learning. Then, the key signature assignment for this module will be to go back to your focus student that you interviewed in the last module and design an instructional activity or an adaptation to an activity and collect student work from that activity, and to look at that student work and to analyze and reflect on both the instructional design and the student work. The readings, which I've tried to keep to a minimum, can be found in the Module 5 Readings folder. The first thing we're going to do is, in our very first forum, we're going to work in subject-specific groups, and we're going to watch classroom discourse. So for English, Math, and Social Studies, you'll be going to Common Core American Achieves, which has some great videos based on Common Core standards. And you have to create a free login and a password. And then you'll search for a specific lesson that I've listed here and watch the entire clip. For science, unfortunately, this site hasn't added science yet, so I'm going to send you back to the TIMS videos and look at a specific clip there. These clips are longer, so constrain yourself to the first 15-20 minutes of it, and that makes it about equal. What you're going to comment on is, what did you notice about the classroom discourse in this video clip? And I want this to be a quick write. It should be about a paragraph. It doesn't have to have citations or references to readings. I want your first initial impression about the discourse you see going on in this video. It will be done in your subject-specific groups, and you will return to this. This right here is just your first impression that you're giving us. As you'll notice in step 4, I'll come back to step 3 in a second. In step 4, you will go on to read 2 of the readings, questioning the questions, and attending to student voice, the impact of descriptive feedback on teaching and learning. Then you're going to go back to step 2 and use what you've learned from the readings and rewatch the videos, and this time I want you to respond to your own initial quick write, to your own initial discussion, and talk about how your impression was changed or things you noticed this time after having done the readings. This response to your own initial post should in fact cite these readings or past readings with examples that back up your initial feelings about what you saw, or maybe ways that you've changed your initial feelings based on the readings. After everyone's had a chance to respond to their own initial post, then I'd like you to go back and respond to 2 of your classmates' responses. Again, citing readings that we either from this step or from past readings, and tying it to their responses to their own quick write. Now back to step 3. This is the step that's still being worked on. I'm going to be enhancing the instructions that are currently available on the site. So what I want you to do in this step is go out to the National Board site where, and I've given you the link directly to the certificate standards and instructions. I want you to pick the area that most applies to you, that they have a component 2 for. Pick a component 2, click on it, and download the resources. There are 4 or 5 pieces of information that are provided in these components. They are normally in a zip file. It has the general portfolio instructions, and this is the same document in all the subject components. The piece that you're really going to need is the subject-specific component 2 guidelines, and these will be in a PDF that are in this zipped file. And in here, you'll have the portfolio instructions for the entire component 2. And we're just going to use some of the guiding component questions throughout, and these will be different by subject matter. So you want to review this first just to see what the whole component is like, and that way the instructions for what we're going to do will make some sense. We will refer back to sections of this for the assignment. This assignment is complicated enough that I've decided I'd like to spend about a half hour with you reviewing the adaptations we're going to make to the National Board Component 2 to do this assignment in our class. It's going to be a very small subset of what's done in Component 2. So I've set up times where we will have small group web conferences where we can go through and get your questions answered about this assignment. I have put the initial assignment instructions on the Titanium site. I will be amending them throughout the week as I refine the component pieces, but I'd like you to look at the Component 2 materials for your subject area, read the description and the rubric, which is not currently there but will be there in a week or so, and then attend one of these small group discussions. You don't have to go to any specific one. I'm not making these subject specifics. I've tried to pick some times that I think might be easy for you to get to. When you're free, it tends to be in the evenings, and I tend to teach in the evenings, so I've tried to pick some times that were all available. I've picked a Saturday morning for everybody except Daisy on the East Coast. And then I know November 11th is a holiday, but in case that's like your only free time, I have 2 options there, in the morning and in the afternoon. And then again, I have a Wednesday evening one on the 12th. If some of you think that this is too restrictive of a time and want to offer up one more time, please feel free to email me. But the intersection of when you are available after teaching and when I'm not teaching is a fairly small set of days in the next couple of weeks. The goal here will be for me to review the assignment to make sure that everyone is clear on it and to answer any questions you have on it. And the link for our discussions where I'll be can be found right here on the bottom. So in step 3, you're going to look at the student work assignment description. There will be a rubric printed here underneath and at the component 2 for your subject matter before we get together so that I can answer any questions you have. The assignment itself asks you to follow up on your student case study by designing a piece of instruction or instructional adaptation for the student that you interviewed in the last assignment. You will then collect student work from that instruction or instructional adaptation that happened during it or after it, and either scan it or take a picture of it. It has to be so you can digitally upload it somehow. You will then provide a description of the instructional context, a description of the activity or adaptation, a copy of the student work that was produced, an analysis of the student work, and a reflection answering the same questions that are asked in the reflection in the Component 2 guidelines. Now, this will require some adaptation on your part. For instance, most of the Component 2 asks you to look at multiple students over a period of time. So this will be looking at just one student, one instructional activity, and so you'll make adaptations to the reflection questions as appropriate. I would expect this to be in the 4 to 6 pages, double-spaced, 12-point font range. And I expect it to reference readings that we've done up to now, in addition to the core propositions and any standards that are content specific and are available at the same place the component 2 guidelines are. So step 3 is really not about doing the assignment, it's about reviewing and understanding the assignment. In step 5, we take a very quick look at student-centered teaching. I have a quick, recently published article in The Atlantic that I ask you to read through. And in this article, it discusses the pros and cons of student-centered learning. I ask you then what you think the strengths and weaknesses are, and to support those ideas with examples from your practice and information from this reading or other readings that we've done in class. I also ask you to respond to 2 of your classmates. Finally, we read an article about looking at student work for teacher learning and teacher community and school reform. And I ask you to make this reading and reflect on your current practice. This reading talks about collaborative looking at student work, which is traditionally done in things like lesson studies or PLCs. So I ask you if you do this kind of work at your site and how it matches to what's described in the article, and if you face the same kind of obstacles as described in the article. And if you don't do it, what parts of the article do you think represent aspects at your site that would have to be addressed in order to accomplish collaborative viewing of student work? So again, I ask you to make an initial post and then to respond to 2 of your classmates. And this time, when you respond to your classmates, I want you to talk about how aspects at your site are similar to what they describe, or how aspects at your site are different from what they describe. And then finally, we're going to do another workshop. That's Titanium's word for places where we can submit work and do peer review. So you'll be submitting your looking at student work assignment into the workshop by November 30th. And then in the week from November 30th to December 7th, you will be assigned one of your classmates in your subject-specific group to review. As I've indicated before, fall recess is part of this module. So on November 30th, we will be starting our last module. As always, please email me any questions, concerns, comments you have. I look forward to the next 3 weeks with you as we explore discourse, looking at student work, and student-centered instruction.